Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Archie's Briefings. I'm your host, Archelle Branch, and before we get into anything, I just want to say, yesterday I was supposed to have an episode. I recorded, there were too many glitches, and it just wasn't worthy of the audience that I'm building here, and it wasn't worthy of the subscribers and the multiple viewers that are watching this show, so I do want to apologize for that because I have an obligation to my viewers, and I just want to be able to keep that consistent. So today, you guys, we are going to be reviewing the DNC Day 3 event. And of course, with a lot of speeches, obviously we know that Pete Buttigieg was there. I'm just going to focus on two speeches today. The two speeches are Tim Waltz, the VP pick for Kamala Harris, as well as Oprah Winfrey. And there's just some things about that I do want to get into. So before I go ahead and show the Oprah speech, parts of Oprah's speech, I'm going to focus on Tim Waltz because there's some things that he said in his speech that I do think is worth discussing. So let's go ahead and let's run that, shall we? Okay, you guys, so before I push play on this, he's getting ready to talk about his service with the National Guard. So before I make any comments, let's run this, shall we? Well, before I say anything, we all know what the allegations are, that he faked his valor, that this is all a bunch of lies. I mean, we know he was in the National Guard and he was in there for 20 years, but we also know that he was a coward and abandoned his men before battle. So I'm really stuck on that one because as someone who supports our troops and who values the things that they do for the freedom of our country, this guy is just a trip to me. And then you look at the contrast between him and Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, she went to war where he did not. So, I mean, this is a big deal for me personally. I don't even understand why she chose him off of that fact alone. If he could abandon his men before battle, why do you think he's going to be there for you when the going gets tough? I'm sorry, when the going gets tough, he dips. So why him? But let's go ahead and let's push play on the speech, shall we?
For me, it was serving in the Army National Guard. I joined up 2 days after my 17th birthday, and I proudly wore our nation's uniform for 24 years. My dad, a Korean War era Army veteran, died of lung cancer a couple years later. He left behind a mountain of medical debt. Thank God for Social Security survivor benefits.
Okay. Notice the first thing he said was, thank you, big government, for allowing us to have these opportunities. I mean, couldn't have said it better myself if I was a socialist. I mean, this is kind of the whole point, right? That they want to say thank you for big government because big government is going to provide the life that we actually want. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. I mean, he said it himself, right? Thank God for Social Security. Thank God for the government to provide and protect and to give us the life that we actually want. And so we should expand on these things and we should make sure that government is there to provide the lives that the American people want. It's like, no, it shouldn't be up to the government. And he doesn't understand that because he's a socialist. I think he understands the differences between what a free market capitalist wants versus what a bureaucrat or someone who longs for the bureaucracy and big government to take care of them. I think they understand the differences and they just think one is better than the other. And it's not because I don't think that they understand that one is actually not going to be beneficial to all people. I think he's smart enough to know that it's not beneficial to all Americans. It's just not beneficial to anybody. Any country that tries communism, socialism, doesn't really work out for them. Let's go ahead and let's continue this clip, shall we?
And thank God for the GI Bill that allowed my dad and me to go to college and millions of other Americans.
Government's paying for students to go to college rather than coming up.
Eventually, like the rest of my family, I fell in love with teaching.
Which is now under investigation because
Three-
of relationship with
3 out of 4 of
Yeah. There's so much wrong with this guy. There's so much wrong with this person. I don't understand why she didn't have an internal dossier drawn up about the people who were going to be considered for her VP. She might have known all this information about him. The Congress is doing an investigation looking into his relationship with the Chinese. He took his high school students down there, and the only way for that to have actually happened, he would have had to have gotten the approval from the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. There's no way you can get into there with your students and not have any kind of a relationship with the CCP. He's had business in China. And again, in order for it to get approved, you have to go through the CCP. So he's got some deep connections with the Chinese in that regard, and it's under investigation. Excuse me, it's under investigation. So this is saying a lot about his position. So not only is he a coward, we are questioning his loyalties as an American citizen. And frankly, even as a teacher, are you trying to bring your students into the understanding that the way China does things is just and accurate? Like, I This guy has got problems. He thanks big government for the life that he has. So thank goodness they were able to cover. Thank goodness the government was able to pay for my college education. Right now, I'm not saying that tax dollars shouldn't assist with some of our troops in trying to help them get the lives that they want beyond service. I think if the only people that we were paying for college for were the troops, we'd probably be in a much better position by now because they have the discipline to understand how society functions. And so they wouldn't be going to college for stupid stuff the way, I think ordinary civilians would, the way we're seeing now kids picking stupid majors. But hey, listen, he thanks big government. The government paid for his education. The government is what gave him Social Security for his father, excuse me. And so these are all the things that we're talking about when we talk about bureaucracy and big government and socialism and communism covering everything in a person's life. That outside of the military service, should this really be the case? It's a conversation of whether or not tax dollars should be going into assisting our troops. I personally am not going to say no to that. They do so much for the American people that I have no problem paying for troops college degree. I got no issue for that. You serve our country at the whim if there's a war. And so for that reason alone, yeah, for sure. We should pay for your education. We should pay for your medical bills. We should make sure that your family is taken care of while you're busy making sure that we have freedoms in America. Totally get it. But if you're not a soldier, then why the heck am I paying for it? And that's where socialism takes us. So I'm done with this guy's speech. I'm done with this guy. Just done with him. I can't even. The rest of the speech, he goes into talking about why Kamala Harris and he are going to be the best people for the job, why they're going to save America. I mean, he wants to make sure that every child has opportunities. He was the football coach of his school, and that we have a responsibility to make sure that these children have the freedoms, understand what freedom is, and have the freedoms to choose their own lives. And so, okay, but you also think that children should be mutilated. And this is one of the issues that I have with that ticket, particularly, is that number one, you want to mutilate children. That's a big deal for me. It's a big problem. We can talk about the economy. We can talk about the illegal immigration. I don't want illegals coming in here, and I would like for for President Trump to do something about preventing even the green card holders in college campuses, particularly the ones who graduate college. That was his policy idea. But if you are a college graduate, you should get a green card. I don't like that. I don't want him to do that. As much as I don't want Trump to do that, my number one focus is to make sure that children don't get mutilated anymore. That's a big thing for me. And this person believes in gender affirmation care. I mean, this is why conservatives, especially Christian conservatives, are looking at this whole DNC time as a satanic celebration, not just of government control over the people, but also murdering babies and mutilating children. Sorry, but if you want to murder babies and you want to mutilate children because you think it's okay that they pick their genders, then we got a problem with that. And so, yeah, I don't like Kamala Harris. I don't like Tim Waltz. And he goes further into that speech discussing that. And you obviously get that with Pete Buttigieg. Most of those speeches were that. The next speech I'm going to talk to you guys today about is Oprah Winfrey's speech. Now, she just came out of nowhere, to be honest. The last time I heard anything about Oprah, it was about Jenny Craig and Ozempic. That Ozempic seems to be working for her, though, because she looked great. I won't lie. She looked great. Ozempic is not something that should be utilized for weight loss. It was something that was specifically created for diabetics, but she's using it and it looks great. And that was the last time I heard anything about Oprah Winfrey. Now she's back in her hometown, Chicago, Illinois. And so she had a lot to say. I will say though, her speech was, some parts were annoying. Some parts were quite touching. Some parts I thought, well, not that, but yes to this. And so it was smart to have her there, right? I mean, first they kicked it off with having Hillary Clinton. Again, why I think Kamala Harris is manufactured, because Hillary she's got the charisma. I'm sorry, but she had the charisma. She said everything right. She made historical references, then she had the Obama. She had both Michelle and Barack Obama come out and speak on her behalf. And I mean, they just have this charisma. I mean, Michelle was beautiful. Obama was handsome. They were both well-spoken. But most of the time they were talking about murdering babies, mutilating children, why we should all hate conservatives and hate Donald Trump. That's really what this whole thing has been. And it was coming from them as well. I mean, Hillary Clinton, talked about women's reproductive rights. Michelle Obama, she said that both she and Kamala were raised with the same ideals. And I'm like, well, Kamala was raised in the ideals of socialism. Michelle Obama, being a black woman, you were probably raised the same way I was raised to think, right? That we believe in God, we believe in family, we believe in hard work. Now, because, my twin sister calls it victims of isms, that some of the things that they might have been raised to think are quite socialist, We had a whole conversation about that actually between my sister. I mean, she actually convinced me, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's possible that there's a certain amount of Black Americans who, though believe in God, family, hard work, and free market capitalism, do think that government should interfere when things are not going quite right. So there's inflation, you should use price control. No, it's a socialist idea. They don't necessarily know that, or if they do, it doesn't bother them because they think it's the just thing to do. I disagree with that, obviously, but majority of the time, we all believe the same thing as Black Americans. It's God first, family next, hard work. We believe those things. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run Oprah Winfrey's speech. Again, listen, I'm not a fan of this woman. I think she's a part of the problem. It's not so much about how she made a name for herself. I think this woman was an incredibly hard worker. She was incredibly efficient. One of the people that she admired was Barbara Walters. And if you ever saw that interview between her and Barbara Walters, she would emulate her and how she got to where she is. So this is not even about her work ethic. It's again, because when you're a Black American, you believe in God, you believe in family, you believe in hard work. And Oprah resembled all of those things in her upbringing and in her come up even, right? I mean, she worked hard. She comes from nothing, came from poverty, and she made something out of herself. And in America, that at the time, she would say was sexist and racist. And yet she is a billionaire in America. I mean, she's an American woman billionaire, right? I mean, my generation's Madam C.J. Walker, right? All because she used her voice, literally just used her voice to make billions, right? To get herself in a position that some people say is completely impossible to do because of they are being a victim of isms, right? Because you're a Black person, because you're a woman, because you're a person of color, because you're this, that, or the third, whatever your thing is, you can't make it in America. Yet this woman came from poverty, made something out of herself. And so that's what's so ironic about her being at the DNC, really, right? Is that, how is someone who's made billions off of a free market capitalist society in favor of a woman who is socialist and communist? Like, it's mind-boggling. It just really shows you that the machine is at work. It's at play. Either she believes the nonsense or she understands that it's just pure evil and it's wrong, but she's advocating for it anyway. There have been some comments made about her by some of the Black Americans in the entertainment industry. So obviously we had Monique say some things about her. We had Taraji P. Henson say some things about her when they were filming The Color Purple. So there are things that have been said about Oprah in the industry. And so there's that. But I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna run the speech now. So we could just let's read that. You can get my reaction to Oprah's speech. Again, there was some things about this that I kind of found fascinating. So let's go ahead. Let's run it. Okay, so before I push play, this is not necessarily one of the policy idea moments. I mean, I don't really think she really goes into policy ideas. It's really she's on the broad basis when she speaks, just ideologically speaking. But there are some things that she says here that I found to be quite interesting. So let me go ahead and push play so you can get my mind on that.
People who want to scare you, who want to rule you.
No.
People who'd have you believe that books are dangerous and assault rifles are safe.
Okay, so starting there, that books are dangerous. So I'm sorry, but if you want to put pornographic images into elementary schools with 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds even, then I got a problem with that. I'm sorry, but these images are highly suggestive. These images are going to make young people assume and question what is this that the characters in the books are doing, and then they're going to get highly experimental. We just know this about children, right? They see something, they do something. Mortals see, mortal do. They haven't quite developed the brain cells to know that just because you see it in a movie or just because you saw it in a book, that doesn't mean you should go out there and do it. This is why you have ratings for movies and television shows, not for children, rated R, adult content. Why you don't want a 5-year-old watching Dexter. Why you don't want a 5-year-old watching Game of Thrones. Okay, so if we have the adult capacity to know why you don't want 5-year-olds watching Game of Thrones, then why do I want a pornographic novel in I don't want Jackie Collins in the elementary schools either. I love me some Jackie Collins. But if my 7-year-old goddaughter picked up Jackie Collins, I'm smacking the book out of her hand. It's not because the book is dangerous, but it's because it's going to introduce some ideas that she is too young to understand, too young to comprehend. And the last thing we want is for little girls and little boys to be playing house because they saw or read a Jackie Collins novel. It's like, right. So this is what we're saying. I have no issue saying we're going to keep Jackie Collins out of the elementary schools. No problem whatsoever. So it's not that books are dangerous. It's that books are highly suggestive to young people who don't know what it is that they're actually looking at. And the books that I'm talking about are not, Jackie Collins novels. Okay, we're not even talking about chapter books here. We're talking about, very suggestive picture books about the male body, the female body, what sexual intercourse is. I mean, 5-year-olds don't need to be reading that. And as far as the assault weapon goes, well, it's about safety, not just so much about safety, but some people use it for hunting. But here in Pennsylvania, if I want a rifle, I can get a rifle. Like, I want rifles. I love rifles. Okay. I have pistols, they're airsoft guns. They're not real guns, right? They're not real ones. Working on that. Actually, I'm working on getting the real one. Working on getting the real ones because my goodness, I love a good pistol. I love a good pistol, especially the We the People 1911. My goodness, it's absolutely gorgeous. 13 Colony, 1776, the hand. It's all the 50 stars, just a beautiful pistol. I do want a rifle though. A 22 rifle would make me very, very happy. I like guns. I like guns. I like bikes. I like meat. I do like my vegetables. So listen, I'm red-blooded, sporty tomboy. Listen, it says I have the right to bear arms. I'd get a cannon if I could. And the farmer in New Jersey built a weather cannon. Just wait until I can get my hands on one of those. I like that we have the Second Amendment. There's a reason why we have the Second Amendment, okay? There's a reason why the Second Amendment comes after the first, because not everybody's going to like what I have to say, and if someone decides they're going to do something about it, I have the potential to defend myself. And it's quite possible the reason why people are so friendly in Pennsylvania, at least in the Trump country, is because they know we're armed all the time. That's part of it. Not that many crimes happening up in where I'm in my area. Philadelphia is a completely different story. Ask yourself why. So I'm not going to say that guns are not created to hurt people. Obviously they are. We know that these are killing weapons. This is not that we don't know that. We're not trying to sit here and pretend that guns are not violent. They are. But it is who is using it that is going to determine whether or not people actually die, or if it's just about the hunting. It's like the person who's holding the weapon, really, it's about the person, not so much about the weapon itself, about the person holding said weapon. You want the person to be responsible, and I have the right to own them. So don't come at me for that. I'm gonna let this go on.
There's a right way to worship and a wrong way to love. People who seek first to divide and then to conquer.
Okay, so I'm not trying to divide anybody here. I don't want this to be a left-right issue. But I don't think that not mutilating children should be something that divides people. They're going to say, oh, but this is about gender affirmation care. No, this is about mutilating children. I don't think that we should be disagreeing on that. There shouldn't be a divide in that. I think as adults, we understand that this type of mutilation is just morbid and it's wrong, and it shouldn't be a debate. There shouldn't even be a disagreement about that. Like, we can disagree about Trump even, right? We can disagree about that. That's fine. We can disagree about Kamala Harris. We can disagree about individuals or in politics. That's fine. But we shouldn't be disagreeing with things that are so obviously wrong, like mutilating a child. This is wrong. Sorry. This is wrong. We should know that it's wrong. And the fact that we're trying to use code words like gender affirmation care, they do the same thing with the women's reproductive rights. I'm sorry, you're murdering children. You know you're murdering children. Bill Maher has even confessed that he knows that it's murdering children, and he's okay with said murder. This is the problem here. Because if everybody agreed that this was murder, how many people would actually go for it? So don't use your fancy words, okay? I don't want to divide people. I just want to make sure that they understand the truth. And then, you make your decision from there. I'm not trying to be divisive. I do want this nation conquered. That's true. I'm a monarchist first. I love my country, but I'm a monarchist first. So the kingdom comes first. I want this nation conquered, okay, in the name of Jesus. I want it conquered in the name of Jesus. And it may not happen now, but the Lord is coming back. And when he comes back, that's, he got this. He wins. We win in the end. And so really, whether or not it happens today, tomorrow, even after this election, which I doubt, it's just what it is. So, let's keep it going, shall we? Okay. This part is where it's like, I agree with this. I agree with this. Because more often than more times, you're going to find people who actually agree just on the basis of morality and kindness. So she's going to say something here that I actually agree with, because in spite of all the differences and the debates and the divides, sometimes the American people are just pretty awesome.
And experienced are human beings both conservative and liberal, who may not agree with each other, but who'd still help you in a heartbeat if you were in trouble.
Yep.
They are the best of America. And despite what some would have you think, we are not so different from our neighbors. When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion.
Yep.
We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted. No, we just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady, well, we try to get that cat out too.
Because that's freaking American. Look, I don't like Oprah. I don't. There's been a lot of conversation about what she's been up to in Hollywood lately. But the woman is smart and she speaks very well. Obviously, she made a career out of it. But that's absolutely true. I don't care who owns it. I'm going to save this lady, this childless lady with her cats. I'm going to save her and the cats because my goodness, oh no, not the cats, not the cats. We get scared when the animals are about to die in the movies. Like we all saw Jaws, it was between the kid and the dog. Oh no, not the dog. Oh no, not the kid. And then the kid got. Oh, that movie was just an experience. Jaws is an amazing movie, side note. But what I will say is she's absolutely right about this. I'm going to stop sharing this speech now. Later, as the speech continues, this is where she starts to annoy me. And I could have just focused on the parts where she annoyed me because, you know, I played Tim Waltz, who was annoying. I could have played Pete Buttigieg. These people annoy me. And I'm not saying that she doesn't either. The first few minutes of that speech, she was uplifting. She was, one would even argue, the unifier. But then, of course, there were things about it in the beginning that was kind of irritating me. Oh, they think that books are dangerous. No, books are suggestive, just like certain television shows are. It's just another form of content that has to be regulated away from children if it's graphic. Right? That's really what it is. Jackie Collins novels should not be in elementary schools. That doesn't make me a bad person, right? I'm not telling adults not to read this book. I'm not saying that adults shouldn't have access to these books. If you want to read a book that shows adults having intercourse as an adult, that's your business. This is a question of taste, really. I mean, I prefer Jackie Collins to 50 Shades of Grey's writer. I mean, that's how much I don't know this person. That's how much I hated that franchise, right? Like, I don't even know the writer's name. Love me some Jackie Collins. I thought her books were phenomenal, right? Like, I read Jackie Collins' books. They're very good, right? But they're also adult, and I don't want them in elementary schools. But we're not even talking about Jackie Collins novels. We're talking about things that go even beyond that. Kamala Harris and Tim Waltz, they want to put tampons in boys' bathrooms. They want to mutilate children, and they want to abort children up to late term and after birth. And we've already seen 7 states do this. New Jersey, my former state, is one of these states. And so I'm sorry, but if you want to mutilate children, if you want to do late term and after birth, if you want to interfere with the progress and the success of the discipline and work ethic of young Americans, make life harder for older and retired Americans, well, then I got a problem with that. You know, we got to support Black power. It's like, okay, well, if you're getting your power from your Blackness, then is it really godly power? That's a question. If we're talking about freedom, but freedom is associated with murdering babies and mutilating children, then why is this justifiable? In Oprah's speech, when she says that as regardless of if we're conservative or liberal, that we have more things in common. Yeah, I do think that the thing that we have in common is a sense of morality. And as conservatives, we have, I would say, an obligation to get the truth out there about what these things really are. So when Kamala Harris says price control, what she means is letting the government interfere with free market capitalism, which hurts everybody. When she says that she wants to give thousands of dollars to first home buyers, what she's saying is she wants to hurt the value of your money, therefore the value of your retirement fund if you are a senior citizen who's retired. She wants to hurt the value of your work ethic, meaning you're going to have to increase it just to be able to get the reward of owning a home, owning a property, or even just being able to pay rent. These are what these words actually mean. And this whole thing has just been a celebration. Now, for tomorrow, you guys, we are going to talk about Kamala Harris' speech because, well, I've been waiting to talk about her speeches because I already knew. First, the economic plan was trash because she didn't expect people to really hold her to task on the communist ideas that she actually had. I could have taken this episode to be like, this person annoys me, which in some cases I did, because Tim Waltz, obviously, he irritates me. You know, you were a coward who abandoned your men before battle. Okay. Your stolen valor is quite clear to the rest of us. There is an investigation into your relationship with the Chinese Communist Party. As the governor of Michigan, you allowed the riots to continue and you did very little. Even the leftist media came out and asked, where the heck are you? Okay. There's been footage of the National Guard going in and forcing people into their homes, or it might have been the police. You know, they waited so long to get people in there. Next thing you know, you're going after your very own citizens. He believes in elitist bureaucracy making decisions for the American people. He believes in gender affirmation, which really just means mutilating kids. He believes that children can pick genders, that they can choose to be animals if they want it. I mean, they're just spewing nonsense and lies. And he's a coward. I don't know why she chose him in the first place. I don't think he's going to have her back when things get tough. And frankly, he's not going to have the American people's back. He didn't have his citizens back when it was getting all crazy and violent. He did nothing for them. And he doesn't, I'm interested to see what they're going to say about this war. He does go into just how he thinks this ticket is amazing. But again, just like the rest of them, they never talk about the potential war with the Palestinians. Are you going to be pro-Israel or are you going to be pro-Palestinian? They have not actually made their decision clear on that. So again, this so far has been nothing about policies except for aborting children. Because even in Oprah's speech, she goes on to talk about bodily autonomy, bodily autonomy. You're murdering children. Just accept that. Like, stop pretending that's not what this is. The second you say that you know what it is, the second we move on from that. I think the reason why they're so eager to dehumanize these children is because they know, if I realize that what we've been doing is murdering children, what does that mean about my soul? Well, let me tell you why my God is so awesome, is that if you repent for your sin, he will forgive you. Just repent, okay? I'm not saying that it was the right thing to do, but if you repent and be born again, well, guess what? You're forgiven for that. So listen, this whole celebration of communism and Satanism and murdering children and mutilating children. I mean, I can't, but we're going to keep going because, we're still in that and we got to get to Kamala Harris' speech. So we'll see how that goes by tomorrow. Thank you all again for watching. You can subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm challenging the internet again. Get this channel to 1,000 subscribers by the end of August, and I will go live for you guys once a week and we can have this conversation live. You can follow me on Instagram at Archie Financial. You can follow me on Twitter at Archie_finance. Thank you all for watching. God bless. Kepler.